I am Chris Gould, and I live on a cruise ship. It is called the Villa V Odyssey, and it is a one of a kind residential cruise ship. That means that the people who are here are not on vacation. They live here, some for just a few months, some for many years, like us. I can't talk about it without showing you pictures. So basically, I've got a slideshow for you. That is our ship. Notice it is much smaller than most cruise ships. And let me take you to our cabin. People ask, if you're on a residential cruise ship, do you have, a two-bedroom, one bath, kitchen apartment? No, it's a standard cruise ship cabin. But look at this. You can arrange it how you want it. We walk in, there's Jim's office, there's the bed and a nice big window, and then there's my office. So we still work probably 20 hours a week, and we have the room to do that. When we first moved aboard, we had shipped some boxes ahead. We looked and said, where in the world is all this stuff going to go? Well, you put it under the bed. So everything we own is in this 140 square foot cabin. Almost. We did leave some stuff back in Florida. You can put bed risers on the bed to make room for the storage. But as I say, there's my office. When we lived in Fort Lauderdale, I just sat at my desk for hours a day. I can do that here. And we have this wonderful window. We've put our own art up on the walls. And there are both Jim and I. Notice all we have to do is put on headsets and we're in our own little worlds. We even have a YouTube studio complete with green screen for when we do our live YouTube shows. People say, how can you live in such a cramped space? I say the cabins are small, but the living is large. You don't need a dining room or a kitchen because that's all provided for you. You just go up to the buffet. I love having fresh fruit every day. That was difficult in your own house to keep fresh fruit around. And you make these friends. Now, these are our friends and our guests in tonight's meeting, Kit and Randy. It's because of them that we learned about the Villa V, and we get to share meals with them anytime it works out. There's also a sit-down restaurant where you can meet with more people and be served. There's about 300 people on board and you get to be friends. It's family and it's just so much fun. But if you want to have a romantic dinner out on the outside part of the restaurant, you can do that too. And then you can walk by moonlight around the promenade on your way back to your cabin. You don't need a living room because here's one, and always activities going on. This is Jim participating in one of his favorite things, which is trivia. Such fun and getting to know other people this way. I enjoy something called Body Groove, where it's an exercise class, but it's just moving to music. I have such great time doing that and sharing it with other people on board. Now, this is the business center, and it's a quiet place. So don't make a lot of noise because people are working there. We have something called the Speaker's Corner, which our guest here, Kit Cassingham, organized. So anytime I want to give a speech, I just tell Kit, put me on the calendar. And I have a built-in audience. And here I've been able to give one of my hands-on smartphone classes. And I loved having that ability again. So here is our small cabin, but we have a large house. I want to tell you a little bit about Japan, where we are right now. So this is where we went. The ship stopped, went to the first dock, Hakodate, and then three or four more, and then we just left Tokyo. The dock was actually Yokohama, but we went into Tokyo. This is the first port that we stopped at, and we found a place where you could buy the whole crab and they cook it and you eat it. Whenever you're in port, you meet other people that are from the ship. So we were walking down the street and we say, I see boat people. So here is another friend from the boat who photobombed me while taking the picture of the crab. There are shrines in Japan. What a concept. There are also stores. Jim needed an HDMI cable. No problem. This was like 6 floors, all chock full of technology. And as long as you had Google Translate, you could figure things out. Then we went into Tokyo and actually stayed in a hotel there where they provide you with these robes. It was so fun. And we got to soak in a hot bath. Now, how did we make our way into Tokyo? It is about an hour and a half from the ship, and there are dozens of train stations. Well, we went in with some friends, and amongst us all, we were able to figure it out. Breakfast in our robes in the hotel, and the reason we went in was to see a baseball game. Look at that. And it was all air conditioned under the dome, and the crowd was just wild. Then we went on a tour of the Imperial Palace grounds, which were beautiful, but you really don't get to see an Imperial Palace. This was our tour guide, an American who'd been living in Japan for 40 years. And I mentioned him because when he asked people where were they from and we told him about our ship, he was really interested. Everybody always is. But he said, don't you get bored? 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 Look at this. This is our next 3 years. We are going to be going around the world, stopping in many different ports. This is just a big picture. And this is where we've come so far. We started in South America, went up the west coast of Central America and Mexico, then over to Hawaii and back to the west coast, up into Alaska and over to Japan. That has been our 4 months since we left Florida. We've seen cliff divers in Acapulco. Woo! We've gone e-bike riding in Mazatlan. We've pet dolphins in Mexico. We went snorkeling with sea lions in Mexico. We went to a brewery in Cabo San Lucas. And then on the way over to Hawaii, we had parties on board. We climbed Diamond Head. We went on the road to Hana. Can you tell the difference between the rocks and the turtles? You have to get closer. We took a helicopter ride over Mount Kilauea. And then we came back, San Francisco, walked on the Golden Gate Bridge, went into Canada for Canada Day, went kayaking in Ketchikan for July 4, kicked up our heels in Skagway doing the can, got close to glaciers, saw the midnight sun, and went for a plane ride in Anchorage, in the mountains behind Anchorage. So let me ask you, do you think that looks boring? If you can live small, you can live large. Get rid of everything, have a small space, and then the world is your backyard. Madam Toastmaster.